What's good? It's Woog. Jake Paul just knocked Ben Askren out in the first round of their boxing match. And I mean, damn, Ben got blasted by a right hand over the top, just landed smack on the side of the head, sent Ben to the canvas, crumbling forward, face first. He tried to beat the count. He got up. The ref just looked at him for a few seconds and decided to wave it off, saying, no, you don't, I don't like what I'm saying. You can't continue. And I see a lot of people like on social media immediately calling, fix, like this was a fixed, rigged fight. And if you know anything about fighting, you could look at that punch, see the way that it connected, look at Ben's reaction to the punch, and tell, no, that was somebody getting punched very hard by somebody else. Nothing more, nothing less. And I truly think that it's just jarring, and a lot of people just don't want to accept or didn't like to see somebody who is as credentialed and as proven, as tested as Ben Askren. The guy's been champion, a mixed martial arts champion in multiple organizations, Bellator, ONE. He just fell short of that in the UFC, got caught by the devastating, Jorge Masvidal knee after beating Robbie Lawler in a controversial stoppage. But the guy is a fighter, if nothing else. And so, I thought that, okay, Jake Paul versus Ben Askren, one of these guys has been training boxing so diligently over the past couple years and seems to really be dedicated to this craft. And the other is an over-the-hill former Olympic wrestler turned mixed martial artist, lifelong wrestler, about as elite as it gets, turned successful mixed martial artist, albeit a retired one, a non-striking sufficient one. We could call him a striking deficient one, although I wasn't aware of how striking deficient he appears to be, at least in this case. But a fighter who has overcome, okay, it's getting a little difficult. I need to figure this out. I need to survive. I need to turn this around. I need to get my hand raised at the end of it and win the match. Like Ben Askren has been proven to be able to do that time and time and time again. Now, he has had a hip surgery since his UFC retirement, but if he felt he could take this match, he obviously, wanted the money. I don't know if he felt going in, if he truly believed he was going to win the match. That's always a tough thing to tell because these fighters are so good, giving you their calm poker face, their just everyday demeanor. Yeah, I think I'm going to win. I don't know what to make of these a lot of the times. And so I think that Ben, trained for this fight and came in to put up a fight. I think that at least is what we had in a version of Ben Askren. So he's fighting Jake Paul. And I thought that because Jake Paul had been training so boxing heavy, so diligently, that he should be able to win this fight, this match, on craft alone. The question was, if this turned into a fight where now your skills, aren't as, you don't have as wide a gap because now you're tired, this other guy's tired. Now it's more a battle of wills. Will we reach that point of the fight? And at that point of the fight, how is Jake gonna respond? We kind of know that Ben's gonna fight. We don't know how much fight Jake has in him. We just know that he's a pretty physically gifted guy. Like, I think we could agree on that, who now has been taking this boxing seriously. So he's got some skills. I don't know how much will he has when you're beyond the point of exhaustion and where your natural skill set isn't going to carry the day any longer and you got to tap into and find something else. I don't know what kind of a reservoir or tank Jake has for that. But we're in the first round of him versus Ben Askren. I think Jake is going to win this via decision. I think he's going to be skillful enough to win the rounds. Ben isn't going to have enough skills to, separate himself in the tit for tat, jab versus jab type of contest, right? So I think that Jake is going to win this, but I think it's going to get a little bit ugly towards the end of it. I think you're going to have your stand-up moments that kind of reflect Ben Askren versus Damian Maia, another super grappling heavy, although it's jiu-jitsu in the case of Damian Maia, a very grappling heavy, kind of striking deficient MMA artist. And so I think that this fight, because of Ben's ability to fight and to compete and to survive and to adapt, that this is going to turn into something that Jake Paul's no longer just completely in control of with the skill set, the boxing heavy skill set that he's been developing. But we didn't get that at all. We got one guy. I mean, Ben Askren tried to launch a couple of attacks early and kind of, back Paul up a little bit. But, once Jake Paul kind of settled down, started throwing his jab, started throwing the jab and the punches, power punches to the body, like that opened up the knockout punches, because he earned Ben's respect to the body early. Ben didn't like that, and so anytime he would drop his shoulders and look like the same way that Canelo knocked out Amir Khan, it's one of the oldest tricks in the book, but it still has to be executed upon. And he hit him to the side of the head a couple times before that, but Ben didn't go down. Maybe it didn't land as cleanly, but with that knockout punch, he kind of got all of it, and Ben reacted as such. Devastating punch, great knockout. I mean, I thought that this fight was going to reach a point where Jake Paul at least no longer looks like this shiny new object who just looks to be this wrecking machine, who we've now seen put Nate Robinson to sleep, knock some YouTuber out before that. And so we're going from versus another YouTuber to versus an undersized but a super athletic former NBA player in Nate Robinson. So it's like, okay, this guy should be better than the average Joe because he is so athletically off the charts. Well, Jake Paul knocked that guy out too. And now let's put him in, not against a striking heavy MMA guy, a non-striking MMA guy, but a fighter. And let's see how this goes. And now he just destroyed him in as devastating a fashion as the other two. And so, say what you want about Jake Paul, say what you want about his shtick, about his way of building his following, about his way of picking his fights and, transitioning into this kind of pseudo-professional boxing realm. Say what you want. Can we at least admit that he is exceeding our expectations in his ability to rise to the occasion and to perform? We hear fighters, even professional fighters, say all the time, I did everything I was supposed to do in training camp. I felt great coming into this fight, but for whatever reasons, whether it's because the lights were too bright, as they say, whatever the hell, the amount of media obligations that you have in the week, 2 weeks, month prior to the fight, all these different things can throw guys off, right? At the end of the day, you've got to go in there and do your job. And Jake Paul, to his damn credit, is at least going in there when the chips are down and delivering big time and putting on about as exciting and explosive and as exhilarating a performance as you could put on. And in this case, against another professional fighter, experienced professional fighter who's beaten Robbie Lawler, a pretty devastating puncher himself, Robbie Lawler. That's the type of experience Ben Askren is bringing into him in the ring. Granted, he can't rest on any of his natural tendencies. Of course, a wrestler, if he gets into trouble, is going to want to shoot. Hell, he's going to want to shoot before he gets into trouble. He wants 90% of this match, if we can get it there, to take place in wrestling situations. And he had none of that to his disposal, and I thought that was going to be a big problem area for Ben. But damn, I didn't think he was going to get sunk with one devastating punch. So hats off to Jake Paul in his ability to execute in the big moment. This was a big pay-per-view event. If this doesn't go well, and if Jake Paul gets schooled, exposed, finished, like humiliated, whatever the hell, then the party might be over. We don't know. Like Conor McGregor at one point was riding among the highest of highs. He's not playing with the same cards now. So Jake Paul, in this high leverage moment, delivers the devastating knockout against Ben Askren. And damn, poor Ben Askren, man. You are now your two biggest, most iconic moments in a sport that you've dedicated your life to after transitioning from your wrestling background, your elite wrestling background. You've been putting in all these years winning championships in multiple promotions, organizations. But unfortunately, to most of the population, the two biggest moments of you in the ring or in the cage are going to be taking the knee against Jorge Masvidal and now this knockout loss against a YouTuber. That's pretty unfortunate. That's kind of unfair. But yeah, Jake Paul delivered big. Who knows what they're going to do with him matchmaking wise? Is he going to take Oscar De La Hoya if De La Hoya wins his upcoming match? Are they going to do him versus a more striking oriented mixed martial artist? I mean, Oscar De La Hoya might be taking on Eddie Alvarez. We'll find out who his opponent's going to be. But yeah, for Jake Paul, how serious an opponent do we give him for his next guy? We're not going to give him an active professional boxer, or at least one who is ranked, one who has a respectable record against respectable fighters. We're not going to give him one of those yet. If anything, we'll give him a beginner professional boxer, but that kind of takes the star power out of the name, right? Like Ben Askren was one of the guys carrying this promotion. If it's Jake Paul versus some guy nobody, including boxing fans, have never heard of, how does that work pay-per-view wise? So it's going to be interesting to see where they go matchmaking wise. Are they going to give him a Conor McGregor if things go poorly against Dustin Poirier in this trilogy fight for Conor? Or if they go well for Conor, even though I think that's going to be much harder to do, you know, getting Dana White's blessing if Conor McGregor beats the guy who should be holding the lightweight title in the UFC, Dustin Poirier, to then transition into a fight with Jake Paul. No, I don't think Dana's having that. But yeah, let's see what they do with Jake Paul. Please let me know what you think or thought of this Jake Paul versus Ben Askren fight. Wow. Like the video, please subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.